Session will be at 9:05, right after the Pledge of Allegiance. So people are coming from far extremities of the county will know what time that they'll be here. Because sometimes we move into closed session and people have to sit out there in the audience for a couple of hours. So we're going to change that process to where general topics from public expression will be heard at 9:05, right after the Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Colfax, you got a comment?
I think that's a good move, Supervisor. I would also suggest here that an opportunity for supervisors to respond to specific items as they come forward. I know we cannot take action, but we had 3 or 4 people sitting out there with regard to the atrocity committed with regard to the art center, and presumably they got up and left thinking that there was no comment. I would like to, for the record, have some indication from County Council as to the status of this situation. We're being asked by the public, and I've been asked privately to do something to see that this decision, quote, is rescinded. I understand that we have no opportunities for reconsideration. However, it seems to me to be a bit absurd as we sit here, at least a couple of us, having seen what happened there without the proper activities being carried forward, even though County Council and the CEO and a couple of supervisors all expressed our concern about the direction in which things were going. The public needs to have some information as to what the county's response to this is at this time. Lawsuits for or against or about or anticipated or feared or imagined, notwithstanding. I think here we, as a Board of Supervisors, at least 2 of us expressed our perspective on this, and we were on the short end of a vote. We are now supervisors who may collectively, thank you, may collectively have a different point of view, but for us to do nothing at this time just raises serious questions about the Board of Supervisors. And I do not appreciate being included as a member of a Board of Supervisors that, and I'm sure Supervisor Smith does not appreciate being regarded as a member of a Board of Supervisors who decimated or seriously wounded the efforts of the Art Center to continue to do its historical and advance its and the county's interest over the years to come. So I'm asking for a comment if it's appropriate. If it's not appropriate, the question is, how do we make whole this action by a Board of Supervisors, 2 of whom are not present and will not be members of this board for the time over the next years to come. So how do we make whole, County Council? How would we approach this? And again, I'm fully aware of the fact that the threat of legal action and so forth constrains us in some ways. Perhaps if you would even elaborate briefly on that, it would add some clarity. It doesn't go in the direction of making it whole, the situation at all.
We have received a formal written threat of litigation, and we will be discussing the issue in the context of significant exposure to litigation, so it's not appropriate to discuss it here in open session.
And I might add that this afternoon we will be talking about the issue of what was in the minutes too. That will be done when we bring up the approval of minutes this afternoon, Supervisor Colfax.
If I can just respond to the response briefly. The point is here is, yes, we will be doing things that are legal, presumably, to deal with this, to respond appropriately. But the fact of the matter is, as a public body, now duly reconstituted, are we constrained from any comments from County Council or from the supervisors collectively as to what our course of action is? In other words, people out there are concerned about the stupid action those are my words, the activity of the Board of Supervisors last month. That concern has to be perpetuated until such time as we get a legal decision somewhere, somehow.
If the board takes action with respect to the threat of litigation, that would be reported out accordingly to the public once that action's been taken.
Okay, we're going to move on to...
Mr. Pinches, again, this is why you don't want to do this at 9:30, I'm afraid. Mr. Rose, is he still here?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Rose, the question I had for you is, how many people and what programs are out there? Can you, not that you would be expected to have this right in front of you, but can you compile a list of the programs that are affecting people who are on fixed incomes?
Yes, sir. If you give me a moment, I'll give you some list of some people who I've talked to here and what their situations are.
Sir,
Or I can wait till later.
Mr.
and
Rose,
maybe in front of the board, whatever, at some other time.
Mr. Rose, what we're going to do here is you're going to bring, when you get your information put together, you contact me or the clerk of the board's office. We'll put you on the agenda and give you a 10 or 15 minute
Okay, that
presentation.
would be very nice
And handle it
because.
appropriate. That way we can have public comment
Yes.
and
Well,
board
thank you very
discussion.
much, because like I said, I've talked to CEOs and HUD, and I'd also talked to the people in social services. Right now, I'm waiting to talk to a lady that's in charge of social services.
So when
and-
you get your information together, you can contact clerk of the board. She'll set up an agenda
Like I
item
said,
for
I would
you.
appreciate it, because I know there's certain things you can do that on the county end. I'm working also with Pat Wiggins' people on the state, and I'm also working with Mike Thompson's people on the federal. So we're just going to see what we can do, what we can
Thank
with
you.
what we have. Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to agenda item number 8B, discussion and possible adoption of the 2009 Board Master Meeting Schedule and Board of Equalization Calendar. Clerk of the Board.
Within your packet, we have two proposed draft calendars. One is entitled the recommended draft. The other is entitled an alternative draft. Each of them represents recommendations shared by board members and staff. Quickly, the two differences are, with regard to the recommended draft, it closely follows the pattern of last year's board business. We do have 5 more regular sessions scheduled in 2009 following that same formula. We still reflect 3 off-site meetings that could be determined as far as costs and efficiencies of taking the board meeting through the county as we have done in the past. And we have 1 additional committee meeting in this year's calendar than we did in last year's calendar. And the recommended draft does include combination dates on Mondays that would reflect Board of Equalization and or special topic sessions and or workshops. So the recommended draft provides maximum flexibility for using those Monday sessions as needed, compared to the alternative draft, which proposes the planning matters be put on a Monday schedule, eliminating planning matters on regular Tuesdays. However, we haven't fully reviewed the pre-scheduled planning team initiatives to be addressed by the board throughout the year. So that is an alternative for your consideration. It does not reflect as much flexibility as the recommended draft does. The one other thing I would mention is that on either one of them, if the board would be willing to consider cancellation of the July 7th meeting. I was just looking at this, realizing that the calendar did not we didn't create a red mark on that day, and we typically have a 2-week summer recess. So if you would be willing to consider cancellation of the July 7th meeting that on each of your drafts right now shows as a yellow mark, that would recognize our formal 2-week board recess during the summer.
So we're going to, we will say that the recommended draft reflects the elimination of the July 7th meeting.
Okay.
For point of discussion, okay?
Thank you.
Supervisor Colfax?
I have no opinion with regard to the July 7th cancellation. What I am concerned